I think it would be good if Mr. Chimuli led us in an opening word of prayer.
That's important.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not an atheist, so things happen.
Okay, let us pray. We can stand up. Dear Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for these people who have turned up today. We thank for the gift of life of their families and their loved ones. Protect us. Guide this gathering. And I have prayed through the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Ivan Chimuli.
Yeah.
She goes, now we're checking in quickly.
Now, as we're going to do the check-ins, but I'm going to request people who are at the back to come to the front.
Sure.
Let's fill up the front seats so that we don't let the room look empty. People at the back, let's try to occupy the front seats and leave the back seats for those who are going to be coming. Yes. Please move to the front. Let's reserve. But there are still some seats here. Okidi, the front seat is, it's for you. It was specifically made for you. Alice, you can also come to the front. Front seats, Joshua.
Yes. Way back since high school were traumatic. Front seats. So if a person wants to stay behind, maybe we let them be for now.
Okay. Today we are not in a classroom though, but we can move on from now. Now, Dan earlier on asked a question. We are going to do some check-ins with each and every one of us. And I would love to start with Jan Wang. Please.
And the question is, how are you really?
I am very fine. Really.
Okay, we believe you. We believe you. Let's pass the microphone.
Good evening to you all. Alan Sanyo is my name. I am okay, for real, for real.
For real, for real.
Good evening, Angela Nampeo. I am very happy. Seen a lot of people I haven't seen in a while, so yeah, very happy, for real.
And okay, for real? For real, okay.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
My name is Patience Ntorine. I'm happy because I'm living out of my means.
That's okay.
A very good evening. Geraldine Kalala is my name. And to be honest, I'm not fine.
Someone close to Geraldine, give her a hug. Let's start here. No, Okid is not that close. Okid is far.
I don't know why you made that quick judgment. Anyway, my name is Okidi. I'm super excited to be here, and I expect something great. Thank you.
You okay?
Absolutely. I told you that.
That's great.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Rebecca Emmanuel. You can say I'm really happy to be here. That's why I came the earliest.
Hello, my name is Kasim Kaira. The last time I checked, I think I was fine. But things seem to be changing pretty fast. It looks like I'm catching it. So I don't know where it will end, but that's for the last I checked, I was fine. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kayonga Paul. I'm truly grateful.
That doesn't answer the question, but we move.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, David Ijo.
Yeah, my name is David Ijo, as you've said. In the morning, I was fine. But I'm fair right now.
Prices of fuel.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Anderson Walozi. I'm good.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Kibet, and I think I'm Niko Sawa.
Even if you use a different language, we don't understand. We shall ask again, what does that mean?
Means God bless you.
I don't believe you. So that means I understood.
Good evening. My name is Sulaiman Ferras Guao. I am very okay, and I'm happy and glad to see Ivan Chimoli Chigozi.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alice, and honestly, I'm tired, but I want to see what's going to be showcased here.
I hope you get refreshed. No hugs, Sebuguao.
A very good evening to you all. My name is Yvonne Mutasi. I am burnt out, like the documentary we're about to showcase. At the same time, anticipating, yeah.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rita Chichoncho. I'm feeling a bit tired, but I'm okay. I'm good.
It is well.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Catherine Nakaemba, and I'm excited to be here generally.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christine Mugisha, and I'm excited to be here.
Good evening. I'm Namakula Mariam. I'm Alhamdulillah.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ronald Sekandi. I think I can be better. I'm happy to see many senior people have taken ages, we'll say. Thank you.
Habari. Msivireje.
Yes, Sebo.
My name is Shemay Agabo, and spiritually 8.5. I am doing there on a scale of 10.
Percent?
On a scale of 10.
Okay.
Solically or emotionally, I am at 6.5. On a scale of 10, physically I'm 10 out of 10. Yeah.
That's above average.
Dan, I am going to ask that you extend your kindness.
Okay.
And repeat the question for the people who have just walked in.
Okay. The question is, how are you? And the fourth word is really. How are you really?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tina. I feel good, and I'm glad to be here. I look forward to seeing the documentary.
Thank you, Tina.
Good evening. My name is Nenny Philip, and I'm excited to be here. Yeah.
All right.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Luga Ashraf Darawish. I'm 50/50.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm fine, but I could be better. Thank you.
Sara Zoka.
Good evening. My name is Silas Mwonge. I'm a bit tired. I was in Fort Portal and I had to come back today morning. So that's where the fatigue is coming from.
We are lucky to have you, Silas. From Fort Portal, you're here. That's what matters.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
My name
Shamim.
is Shamim Navakoza. The first question, I am okay. For the second question, I don't know.
So when they say, how are you, you are okay. But when they ask, how are you really, you're not sure. We hope you figure that out by the end of the day.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shanks Shannon Tusovida. I am a journalist and I'm exhausted. It's been an extremely long month for us, but today is the very last day before a week-long break. But also, I think it's important. Everyone here may say they're fine, but they're struggling with something that perhaps they're not willing to share. And I hope you all get better.
Shanks, there is an inside joke that we want to get. There's a corner that clapped. Let's get that joke, please.
No, there is no joke. We've been here for several months with no break.
Okay.
And we are getting 1 week off. So those are those are my co-fellows in the mentorship program that are also going to enjoy the week-long break.
All right.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Abubakar Luboa. And my daughter normally says, "Really, Daddy?" So, really, I'm fine.
Good evening, everyone. My name is William Skato, and I'm feeling great.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chimuli Chigozi. I'm very okay. Do I answer it?
Yeah, you did. You answered.
I'm a happy farmer.
That's important.
Good evening, everyone. For those that do not know me, my name is Godfrey, and I'm really, really okay in that Solomon is here.
Hi, guys. My name is Solomon Serwanja. I am fair, for the reasons you know.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sylvia Nahawa Kajura. Glad to be here. I'm really fine.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chiraga Moses Riyad. And how am I feeling? I'm above the pass mark. Let's say the things are out of 10. I'm at 6 right now.
Okay, Joshua, your turn.
My name is Joshua, like Dan introduced me, and I am doing just fine, regardless of the fuel prices.
That's a constant. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome you once again for coming to this screening of the BurnOut documentary. And of course, we are also glad to have journalists of different, not generations, that would be stretched, but could be generations, because we can stretch it from the group that clapped in the corner, the current fellows of Media Challenge Initiative, to the era of the Kasims, to the era of the Solomon Seranjas, and back to the era of Joshua.
But where do I fit in all of this? Anyway, before we go far, Dan did not answer the question, how are you doing? Really?
What time is it? Close to 7. I'm okay because this is my favorite time. Most times you're done with work. That's a lie. You're close to getting done with work. If you're in a newsroom, that's what I mean. This is the time you're in a rush, and it's something you get used to. But today, the topic, ladies and gentlemen, that is in the room is the topic that involves all of us, the newsroom and mental health. It's something that's been discussed for ages, and it never gets to formal spaces like this one. We're in the newsroom, and then, of course, you have an issue, you go to a colleague, you talk about it, and then the next day you'll tell you you'll be fine, then you come back the next day, and the results are always needed. Doesn't matter how you feel, doesn't matter how you slept, doesn't matter what's going on in your mind. So we shall have, by the end of the day, we shall have to come up with some of what we think can be the solutions to these issues we are facing in our newsrooms. But for now, let's get this started with opening remarks. I see Abbas is here. So I won't take more of your time. I will welcome Abbas Mpindi from the Media Challenge Initiative. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello. How are you? I didn't get to answer the part of how are you really. So, I think that's the hard part. I am grateful. I am fine. I am breathing. I have work. I have a team. And most importantly, I have a community here. That, yes, clap for that. Today, we are more than excited to welcome you here. And on behalf of MCI as well as Ukweli, the issue at hand, which is mental health, add emotional health, add physical health, add other forms of health that we're not talking about, is crucial for not only just now, but for probably we should have had it yesterday. Why is this important for us is because if the theme for this year's World Press Freedom Day is shaping a future at peace, then I would argue that the people that carry the future of stories that shape truth and shape the peace that we are looking for must be cared for first. Our work here at Media Challenge Initiative is on this idea of a humane and healthy media ecosystem. Again, if you reflect seriously, is that there is no way you can build that future, even if it's an idea, without first and foremost healthy journalists and healthy storytellers. And their health can't just be, I have the capacity to carry a camera and run to the field and get you a story, or have the capacity to write, a capacity to edit. The causes of what you would consider a healthy journalist, but most importantly, a healthy human being to operate in any space, goes beyond, let's say, medical insurance. It goes beyond what we see as, people asking, how are you really? It goes deeper into being able to say, are you creating spaces for people to reflect, even if they have the opportunity to make their own decisions? So what have we done here is, besides this film that you're going to watch, what I believe is really important and has always been there as part of an African setting, an African tradition, is the idea of a community. And though we take it for granted, it's really important, whether it's going to be a community of two people who can sit, face each other, and confide through the challenge that they're going through. If there is one person that I can rely on, then for me that's community. So through the cohorts of fellowship that we run here, the most important part for us is a community of young journalists that can still stay connected. We don't expect them to be best friends. We expect that in between they have certain glue that keeps them together. And that could be the vision of a better world, but that could also be just a check-in to see how they are really. doing. And so, as we get into this amazing documentary that has been done, I hope that we can center ourselves today. And I think Dan was talking about, like, we have a legend in Kasim, we have a legend in Solomon. Even just their stories themselves can be therapy for us. So we see you who came before all these young journalists, and of course Mr. Kato as well. But what you've had to endure over the years is what we are learning from, and what can inspire those who are about to give up. When we started MCI, we'd go to universities and you'd find classes of 60, 70 students in journalism class. Now you find 15, 20. And there are very many reasons why that's reducing. Part of it could be some of the images that we are going to see. But the other one could be, this one is showing me money. The other one is money. But I think for me is that when you see, we connect a lot with the success that looks like us. So if I see success in Solomon, I'm inspired. But if I also see how Solomon is being treated, I'm also going to be despaired as well. So it has the same impact. I will say a few things later, but for now, feel at home, feel at MCI, and enjoy this film. If you, as you watch, feel like you want to step out and get some fresh air, please, we have a big space. Just feel free to move out, because some of the images can be quite disheartening for us. Thank you so much.
Round of applause for Abbas. Thank you very much, Abbas. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall go into the screening shortly. So if the production is ready, I won't waste more of your time. I will right away go into the screening. I think lights will go out, and then we can have this film. Production, you ready? All right.
We are not boxers who earn a living by being beaten.
My mental health took a nosedive. You're not paid, you're beaten.
We are not boxers who earn a living by being beaten.
In the pursuit of truth, they face the harshest realities.
I was beaten out of journalism. They kicked me out.
They have paid the brutal price for their craft.
I don't want to open wounds.
Beat me up, take everything.
My head couldn't handle so much.
This is the untold story of journalists in Uganda.
She targeted me.
Struggling to cope with the mental scars.
I had to go away to heal myself.
Use tear gas. Yours. You have it. Spread them.
Many journalists in Uganda suffer in silence.
Those are journalists. You spend.
Haunted by trauma and abandoned by their newsrooms.
And all my bosses, I believe, they all turned against me.
I decided to
be in a black world completely. You will have a shaky information landscape.
It is time to break the silence.
There's some standards that need to be put in place.
Time is now
to build a safe space.
BurnOut.
My mental health took a nosedive.
You're not paid. You're beaten.
The hidden toll on journalists. This is James Akena, a former and prominent photojournalist with the Reuters news agency. He is now turned into a bartender after he was beaten out of journalism.
I was beaten out of journalism. They kicked me out.
In 2018, while on an official assignment downtown Kampala, James was attacked and beaten by officers from the military forces. Ever since, James's life turned otherwise.
I was on my way. I did not even take a picture. So they turned on me. I was now with two other colleagues, I think. They are the one who took the clips that you saw. I have a match. I tell them I'm a journalist, tried to show them this and did whatever I could. No. So they rain all the kind of kick beatings that you saw, mostly concentrating on my head and the back. So I became the story.
James was a star photographer with headlining shots across different platforms around the globe, a craft he bore since childhood. Sadly, his budding career was cut short.
I was at a crossroad. I never thought my exit would be this way. I thought it would be another graceful thing, retiring, with dignity and respect, and on passing the blessing to the next generation that follows us. This was a rushy thing. So I thought I would get comfort from my former employers, the Reuters news agencies. And all my bosses, I believe, they all turned against me. This is one of those.
Akena's perception about journalism has ever since changed. He felt abandoned by the organization that should have protected him.
Nobody really wanted to listen to, in any way, compensating me for the exposures I've gone through. So you let me into the line of fire, and once I'm caught up in there, you rather stand with me, and if I'm unable to, then stand with me to support other alternative way of survival.
Violence against journalists in Uganda is high, particularly during electoral periods and protests.
Shall be liable for arrest and prosecution. Use tear gas. Yours. You have it. Spread them. You bring it very fast.
With security forces, police, military, and JAT being the main perpetrators. Common injuries include beatings with batons, tear gas exposure, and destruction of equipment. Uganda is ranked 133rd out of 180 in the 2023 World Press Freedom Index.
I thought they were spraying journalists.
Security forces are the primary perpetrators of intimidation, harassment, and violence against journalists with 94 press freedom violations recorded in 2022 by HRNJ Uganda.
The annual average.
Adding to the statistics is Gertrude Owitwari. 8 years ago, on April 8, 2017, Gertrude Owitwari, a health issues reporter for Nation Television Uganda, was kidnapped, blindfolded, and received death threats.
NTV journalist Gertrude Tumsime Owitwari abducted, blindfolded, and later dumped at a known location.
But also this is an attack on freedom of the press.
Gertrude had her head shaved and severely bitten before being dumped in an isolated area in the suburbs of Kampala. To date, this conversation is a nightmare to Gertrude.
What happened was a persecution to this debt that I have not really understood the depth of why. It's not something I'm comfortable sharing. It's a very sensitive topic for me. So for the sake of my mental health, I don't want to go so much deep into that.
Most of them shout, "Uitware," and then I say, "Hey, I'm happy to see you," and then
Gertrude was gagged by her tormentors. 8 years later, and miles away from her mother country, Uganda, she still struggles with comprehending the injustice she faced for being a journalist.
My mental health took a nosedive, a really hard one. I had to go away to heal myself. And I realized that it had been a cumulative effect kind of thing, where you have a lot to deal with, but nobody to help you go through it. So take the time off if you need to. Be a journalist. Take the time off. That job will continue without you. For my sake, I had to go through kind of a withdrawal. When you suffer post-traumatic stress disorder, for whatever situation it has been, you probably think I'll sleep it off and wake up good, until you can't. Until you wake up and you don't know what time is it. Until you wake up and say, oh, when was the last time I ate? Until you wake up and say, someone's coming for me, you know, out of a nightmare. Until you have to look over your shoulder, even when you are in a presumably safe space now, you're walking but thinking, why is that guy looking at me? Is he sent to get me? That effect.
Gertrude was sent out of the newsroom. Her young family separated. She had to restart life. The nature of journalistic work exposes journalists to traumatic events, including violence, crime, and conflict. In East Africa, journalists face unique challenges such as political instability, civil conflict, and censorship. These challenges lead to various mental health issues, including anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and sometimes substance abuse.
She targeted me. I ran as fast as I could. When I saw the driver moving in the car, I tried to stop him. He was slowing down for me to enter. I jumped in. She beat my foot.
You also have to look at the conditions in which our journalists actually get the information that you need. They are going into the place that there is imminent danger to get you the story. I know that they are doing a job, but there is a psychological hazard to their wellness as well. So if a person knows that that will be the story that will earn their keep, and that is their work, you know, then they might have no option but to go at that front line. So at what cost though, you know? So it goes even beyond psychological harm, but also physical, because we have seen journalists in capturing news and information in violent situations become victims.
Maurice Mugisha is the Managing Director at Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC. He's gone through the ladders of journalism for the last 22 years. Maurice has lived firsthand with challenges in newsrooms.
As it seeks out suspects involved in election malpractices and irregularities that led to the suspension of...
It was a big thing in the early 2000s. You know, journalists, presenters became instant celebrities. And so you worshipped the job because you had a job, first thing, but also you had a really good job. And so it didn't matter what happened in the field necessarily, because you, at the end of the day, needed to have a family you're feeding at home, back at home, and then you had probably, you know, a larger family to look after. And so all the things that you faced in the field, whether it was the graphic images, whether it was, you know, tear gas, or, you know, a protest, you know, that you went to and you were injured. I think you wanted to get back on the field as fast as possible because there was no alternative to this. Because we didn't have what you have now in some institutions where you have, you know, people taking care of journalists' mental health. They're giving you opportunity to speak to someone. They have programs to prepare journalists for what's going to come. We didn't have that. We didn't have that luxury, I would call it, because it was about the job.
Relating to the current times, most journalists don't have the luxury either. Mental health support for journalists in the newsroom is a nightmare.
This is the second time a journalist is being beaten by security officers ever since.
Uganda has gone through an electoral period and violence against journalists was noted.
And it would be wise for police leadership to explain sooner rather than later why unarmed journalists are now being targeted by security.
My name is Daniel Kibet. I'm a journalist. I work with Nation Media Group. Nation Media Group operates in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda.
Kibet was on the front line of the just concluded election as he covered Robert Chagulanyi, also known as Bobi Wine's political rallies.
So I was leaning against this window moments before the tear gas canister fell and hit.
He encountered several harrowing stories of violence and brutality against supporters and journalists at National Unity Platform rallies.
Barely a minute before that incident happened.
His presence in a particular place will attract a crowd, so many people. Border riders will want to follow this guy. And always there's that commotion. While security is trying to chase some of them, others are trying to run away, to catch up with a presidential candidate. They drive so recklessly. You literally see someone, either a rider or a passenger, lying down, lifeless. At least the body is not moving, and you can clearly tell a person who is in coma or someone who has died. You see someone's head has hit a tarmac road, that is concrete, and then there's blood spilling all over. I mean, I kept wondering, don't they sense that there's danger? And I was fearing for them on their behalf, to the extent that every time we would go out, I knew that either one of them was going to die or so many of them were going to get injured because of that excitement. So that thing kept torturing me a lot. And maybe the other thing is how security was, of course, pepper spraying people, beating people. Sometimes you be sleeping and it's like a nightmare. Sometimes you remember all these things and you really feel bad for the lives that were lost. You feel bad for people who are being beaten. It's tough. It's bad, man.
Take one and
My name is Hakim Wampamba Nachivinge. I am a journalist with NBS Television. I tell stories, business and current affairs, and that's what I've been doing for the past 5 years.
On his 33rd day of the 90 days nationwide campaign.
Hakim was in the space with Kibet during the just concluded election coverage. He shares part of his election coverage script.
In about 30.
I covered up to day 40, but by day 40 I had seen so much. At some point my head couldn't handle so much. I saw in Bweziwera, while the NUP presidential candidate was going to campaign in Bweziwera, I saw so much. I saw people being electrocuted by police. I saw people being beaten. And I saw more than 90 people being arrested. By the time I did my very last day in Shema, I returned home and I decided to, let me cut off everyone else. I went for an unconditional and indefinite social media break. At some point, I deactivated all my pages across all social media platforms, and I deleted my WhatsApp as well. I said I don't want to hear from the world outside.
Stories behind the journalists are always underreported. But Ukweli Africa and Media Challenge Initiative are taking a candid role to highlight one more story in the newsrooms. We backtrack in 2023, where at least 7 journalists were assaulted and robbed. Among them, Nowamani Ainembabazi, an intern with then Urban TV, now defunct. She was punched in the mouth twice and lost her tooth. It was baptism by fire.
Beat me up, take everything. Everything happens in a split second. I am grabbed, bag is grabbed, phone is grabbed, everything is taken. They've hit me, and then I'm still complaining about my phone. I'm like, why are you taking my phone? And then that's when I feel something drip, off my chest. So I feel bad drip on me. And then that's when I touch it, and then I feel bits of flesh in my mouth. And a bit of, something to get it out, it's white. I have no bones in my mouth, so obviously it's a tooth. And yeah, that's when now shock kicks in. That's when I start crying immediately.
Luckily, she received treatment and is physically recovered, but mentally bruised.
When I enter the newsroom like this, I'm greeted by familiar faces, but now the familiar faces have changed. Everyone is sharing their own story of how they've been assaulted before. In reporting. There is someone I was working with, he used to sit on a far desk, who had a problem with his eye. He had one eye and had never realized why. That's when he tells me, he's like, oh, by the way, you know how I lost my eye? I was reporting. And I'm like, okay. Someone else comes up and is like, oh, me? I took a whole 6 months in prison during election time. because I was reporting. I just now, people, they were no longer colleagues, they were no longer people. It was just more of, we were all supposed to be institutionalized at some point because everyone had a different story to tell. So they are consoling me in a way of, don't feel bad, like you're not the first and it has not happened to you alone. And it's kind of saddening that we all seem to have accepted that, yes, this is it. You know, I'll lose an eye and the best I'll do is work for the media house for, you know.
Many journalists in Uganda and elsewhere in Africa exhibit symptoms of secondary trauma, anxiety, and depression, while others develop post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, manifesting through nightmares and flashbacks.
We are also seeing a lot of violence that comes with this job, be it mental, emotional, physical violence when it comes to covering sensitive stories. And that violence is experienced on social media and seen physically in spaces where young people are, in communities where young people reside. And what you should understand is that we are all inspired by the success we see, but we are also despaired by the failures that we see every day. So if we see journalists not being successful, journalists being beaten in communities or arrested, the energy to pursue that career will also go down. And the task we have as an organization and many others is to inspire young journalists to continue pursuing this craft, because journalism matters a lot.
We, as a profession, are losing many of our colleagues due to the things that we are ignoring. I mean, we do not look into our mental status. These are stories that are untold by the public out there. Nobody is telling these stories to the public. We can't tell our own stories as, journalists are suffering, journalists are burning out, and nobody is listening to the stories. In this country is a space where journalists do not have work contracts. There are no systems to look into what a journalist faces on a daily. So it's an important conversation that we see how we build a support system. We see how we build a peer support community for journalists in the newsrooms, so that we do not continue losing the best of talent in the space.
Most newsrooms exist without dependable social networks and medical insurance to support mental health for journalists, and some turn into self-destruction mode, resulting into long-term effects. Dr. Samuel Kaziwe, PhD, is a broadcast journalist, academic and researcher who has looked into mental health of journalists in newsrooms. We ask him about this subject.
The challenge of mental health among the journalists is certainly widespread, but it's underreported. Widespread, but underreported. In fact, some journalists are even experiencing it without knowing. Even those around them do not know until when somebody loses it completely. I have seen journalists losing it and become drunkards. A one-time high flyer is reduced to a village rascal, a village drunk. I have seen myself going back to the villages. Yet at one time, they were the talk of the town. But at some point, they get overwhelmed because of these other challenges. And they lose it. So in fact, I think media houses need to take this matter very seriously. They should have policies on mental health, and those policies should be able to provide mechanisms for managing for forestalling such situations, but also to be able to manage when journalists find themselves in this situation. The trouble is, according to the research I have conducted around this subject and there are papers that I've published, majority of our media houses are not even familiar with the subject. I mean, leave alone the policy. Before you even talk about the policy, they are not even familiar with the subject.
Ukweli Africa and Media Challenge Initiative are taking center role now to profile and amplify these stories, but also aspire to create a safe space for journalists to speak out.
I think looking out for one another and building a support system or structure around yourself. I'm super glad that I've built that structure or built that support system around myself. So have a colleague or two that you can talk to, because a problem shared is maybe half a quarter way solved. So share it with someone, at least someone cares.
Like every day I would go out maybe to play football, to do what, but I feel that doesn't work for me right now. All I need is to be around these young kids. Sometimes they come smile on you and you forget everything that you had. But of course that doesn't last forever. They will fall asleep. You might want to go to office and you miss them. But for now, that is my medicine. I want to go to a place where I can't access TV, I can't access internet. I just want to be in a black world completely. Probably I think that will help me, overcome what has piled up in my head.
I've tested violence, and trust me, you can't forget that. It's a reality for me. Like, trust me, you might even talk about any other challenges, but my greatest fear will always be that, because I've experienced it, I have lived it, and I don't want it to ever happen again. Like, I feel like we're not supported by anyone. Like, we are just on our own. Right now, I feel like if I'm to go back, I need to have a form of security. Like, not even just physically, but even financially. Because at the end of the day, you're not paid. You're beaten by the police, by the public, because you've seen, like, no more regular people come out and insult and assault, So you have police, you have
we shouldn't be hearing or reading about journalists taking their own lives because it's been too much and nobody has really cared. We shouldn't be hearing about journalists who have left the stage quite unceremoniously, and before we know it, we don't know what's up with them. Check in even on your former employees. It's healing. You know that I have a team, a family that I built that is looking out for me. So mental health, company owners, absolutely. Do not treat the journalists like workers who are just bringing revenue for you. Treat them like humans whose needs need to be tended to. They give us the money and they think that's enough. No, it's not.
The need to support mental health for journalists is eminent and long overdue.
Media organizations, as government, and of course journalists, we need to agree that there's some standards that need to be put in place, and something needs to be done. I have been in meetings where I know that something is going to be done. UCC is now saying for them to license some radio stations, they want to see their balance sheet to understand whether they are actually making money. If you're a radio station and you're not making money, how are you going to pay your journalists? That's the first question they're saying. But then they also want to see contracts of journalists. They want to see the payroll of their staff. Now, when they ask for a payroll and they see that you're paying a journalist 100,000, they'll clearly say you can't then run a radio station, because how is your journalist going to survive on 100,000 shillings? Where do they find rent, food, and pay for their medical? So there is certain aspects that are going to be addressed in the next few years, but I think as journalists, we need to probably organize ourselves better and put in place the basics that need to support the foundation. Otherwise, if we don't do that now, then we've literally just buried all the future journalists in this country. And maybe that's why we have the biggest turnover in the business.
The call is simple. Let's appreciate the gravity of the scourge called mental illness in this industry. It is real. It's not a figment of anyone's wild imagination. We've lost fine journalists due to the scourge. Some have even died. So I think the time is now. Martin Luther King Jr. used to talk about the fierce urgency of now. So the time is now that we appreciate the gravity of the situation. Once we appreciate the gravity of the situation, we should be able to face it head on. And I don't think that the challenge is insurmountable.
Fire will never be stopped by fire. But instead, it will be the cool waters, the cool winds that will stop fire. So this business of, because there's been a confrontation between the media and the individual, because it's not a policy in the force, that let's go and antagonize you. No way. These are maybe individual choices or challenges, because we need to work together with everybody. So I want to call upon you that in instances of this, 1, let's build trust for each other. 2, let's engage ourselves always. 3, let's approach. We can have meetings. We can engage ourselves in meetings. Because without you, without us, we are nobody.
The time is definitely now to create safe spaces for journalists to have discussions, develop protocols for covering traumatic events, and hold training sessions. People-centered approach for journalists in newsrooms. Prioritize safety planning. Develop specific protocols for covering traumatic events and mass tragedies. Implement mandatory support. Provide access to counselors for staff covering graphic material. Adopt safe spaces. Create support and normalize discussions about mental health and well-being. Offer flexible working. Encourage regular breaks and detoxing from traumatic news coverage.
We think we need to build a safe space where journalists come and share, where journalists come and support each other in terms of mental health, but also we think we need to advocate for more of into mental health. How do we have policies in newsrooms? I mean, we need to have a newsroom that is deliberate in supporting their own journalists in terms of mental health.
Without the custodians of information in a stable mental and emotional state, then you will have a shaky information landscape, which now we are seeing. So start seeing and taking journalists as partners that are advancing this country forward. And then we'll all be able to say, let's center their wellness first. Let's center their emotional and physical and mental wellness as a priority in the newsrooms and as well as in society.
My fellow policemen, please, we are symbiotic. We need to work with the media. The bloodstream of policing is information. And key information about what we do comes from the press. So the way to go is when we work with them. Let's also not deny ourselves an opportunity when we have these partners ready to work with us.
By addressing the mental health needs of journalists in Uganda, media houses can improve their quality of life and enhance their professional performance, perhaps using a model that breaks the courtship of journalists and trauma.
Some jet guy was following us. He wanted to pain us. I don't know what we have done wrong. We are doing our work.
BurnOut, the hidden toll on journalists.
A round of applause for the team behind BurnOut. Thank you. Lights on so that we can continue. Wow. I think I need to pause and we first reflect. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to recognize the presence of China, who was in the documentary, China High. I want to recognize the presence of Daniel Kibet, who was in the documentary, Daniel High. And Abbas, who was in the documentary, High. Okay, we shall be going into, and good, who was in the documentary as well. We shall be going into a time for snacks, but for me, I just want to help on reflecting on this. I had a phrase, I'm a journalist in this documentary, and it's a joke in our newsrooms every other day when you tell your colleague, today you'll be screaming, I'm a journalist, like it's kind of a joke, kind of a dark joke. But what happens at a time when they come for you, when they know you, like in the Kawempe escapade, where they say, I want Hakim Wampamba today. And the security officer is asking, who is Hakim? Who is Abubakar? So the I'm journalist part now seems, I mean, it doesn't make sense anymore, and that's how risky it is. And also the idea of not telling our own stories. I'm really glad that today we are here watching our own story, and I think we should clap for that this is our story, and we sit here today to also talk about our own issues, not talk about issues that affect other people that we always do, but issues that are in our own house. So I'll request you, as maybe the DJ plays the music, to pick something to eat as we prepare for the panel that will be hosted by Joshua. If you came earlier on, you saw who Joshua is. Joshua Mwesi will be the one hosting that panel. So the person on the buttons plays the music, and then we can go for the snacks and then come back for the panel that I promise will be very brief so that we can go home very early. Thank you very much. You can feel free to
two. Josh, 1, 2. Check microphone 1, 2.
Good people, the 30 seconds are more than done. Let's take our seats. Humble request, let's take our seats and then start with the discussion. To, of course, break down what we saw in the documentary. And the panel discussion will be moderated by Joshua Mwesigwa. And I won't waste much of your time. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Joshua Mwesigwa. I know you're eating, but we can try and give Joshua a better welcome. Yes, Joshua, here you go.
Thank you, Dan. Please clap for Dan. You people are from eating. I think you can clap for Dan bigger than that. Yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I trust the meal has warmed you up regardless of the too much AC that made the room a little bit tense even while we're watching the documentary. But at this moment, allow me invite the following people who we are going to be discussing with burnout and journalism well-being in depth. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start with Kasim Kaira. Kasim Kaira joined the BBC in 2005, first as a Kenya-Rwanda Kirundi news anchor, later worked with the Focus on Africa team, before resigning after 4 years on the Swahili team. Kasim speaks at least 12 languages and is currently heading the news development team at Azam TV. He is also a farmer and a family man. Kasim, welcome. The next person is the programs manager at Media Focus on Africa, where she oversees media project productions, capacity building, and outreach in the grassroots. After a successful career in journalism and public relations, she has most recently been involved in media development. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Jan Ajwang. The next person, or the next panelist, is in charge of client relations, partnerships at Safe Places Uganda. Safe Places Uganda has a diverse in-house team comprising of psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, clinicians, mental health nurses, counselors, varied therapists, recovery coaches, and addiction counselors to manage a broad range of mental health issues, opening the door to holistic recovery. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Annette Mahoro. I think you can clap better than that. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen of the press and distinguished guests, my name is Joshua Mwesigwa. I am a journalist with Switch Africa and also a reporter with Solutions Now Africa. I am also an alumni of the Media Challenge Fellowship Program, Cohort 7, and with all the grammar you'll be hearing tonight, I want to request, or I'm proposing, for one simple thing, that is the spirit of Ubuntu. In simple terms, I would say Ubuntu by Archbishop Desmond Tutu. A person is a person through other persons. A human is a human through other humans. The element of humility, generosity, empathy shouldn't be lacking amongst us. So let's come together and hold hands as we proceed with this discussion. I want you to picture humanity, picture unity, and picture Ubuntu. I would like to start this conversation with Kasim. Kasim, habari. Kasim, you have, I don't know, when did you have the time to learn all these languages?
Circumstances, because I moved around a lot. Born in Barara, brought up in Kenya, have family in Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, and Zanzibar. And being in all those places meant, especially the years in Kenya, for you to survive in Kenya with the tribalism that is there, you needed to be one tribe at least. And I was a Kamba when I was in Kenya, because I speak Kikamba, and you cannot kusengenya me in Kikuyu as well. So I would get around well.
Awesome.
So a lot of it was kind of circumstantial.
Okay, awesome. Now, you've had a long career at the BBC and now lead news development at Azam TV.
I left Azam TV. I'm a full-time farmer now.
Okay.
And a trainer, a media trainer. But I've left like
All right.
journalism.
All right, that is interesting. Now, looking back, how has the mental health conversation been in newsrooms, and if it has changed since you started journalism in 2005?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you talk about 2005, but that is at the BBC. I started my journalism in 1996. In Rwanda, I was head of Rwanda TV before I left for the BBC.
Okay.
The BBC got me from Rwanda TV, where I was head of news, chief editor of the news there. I go into Rwanda at a very difficult time, immediately after the genocide in 1994. Crisis. Many journalists are either in prison, many journalists have either fled the country, or many journalists are sort of, either in prison, killed, or have fled the country. And journalism participated very much in the events of what happened there. So the issues of mental health, I sort of got immersed straight away into the issues of mental health. But just maybe as a starting statement on tonight's sort of conversation, I would say that globally we have a mental health crisis. Globally, leave alone journalism is just one of the sectors, and we are getting to appreciate that we are there. But we have a serious global mental health crisis. I was in UK, and I'm doing a lot of content now on farming, so people who are following me on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, I'm doing a lot of stuff. My journalism sort of moved now to say, I'm in farming, I'm putting a lot of effort to highlight stuff in the farming world. So I was really shocked, like getting to the UK, speaking to young people working in the farming sector, and there are many people who are committing suicide in the farming sector because of the routines. You're working in the field, the weather just, brings you a curse. You've worked so hard, you've worked on a tractor, 10 acres, the weather becomes shite, sorry for the word, and then the next thing is you have lost every harvest you're expecting. People are committing suicide, and these are young people in the field. So where you thought with journalism now, seeing what we've seen tonight, you can almost understand where that is coming from. But as a result, I came back to my farm immediately after doing that. I move, even if you get outside now, I have evidence in my car, I always move with my badminton rack. And I go to the farm, go to the compound mode, and then I told the staff, you have a break for 3 hours, can you all come out? And they couldn't understand what was happening. I brought out the rackets, we started playing badminton. There has never been as much fun on the farm as there was. And suddenly, their mental health was getting affected. These are the things that sometimes you don't know the little things that you do. How many farm owners, for example, would find a time to play with their staff? Football in the big compounds, the big farms that people have. Do you ever have that little moment? So mental health, on the other hand, now, when it comes to journalism, is even quite interesting. We are getting through interesting times. The people that I saw here are some of the people that I've been with in some of the field. James Akena, we were with him in Kasese when the palace was attacked. It was me, him, Julius Senkandwa, who went and lobbied to get the late Afande Kawesi to push Afande Asumani Mujenyi to get permission from headquarters to allow us to enter the palace after a lot of what had happened there. We were with Jimmy that night. We received a funny phone call as we were in Kazini's hotel telling us that there were people who were still trapped in the caves and in the palace. And that's how we started the story. Put the pressure on the authorities to allow us to access the palace, which had been out of bounds. The issues of trauma, and Gertrude as well, is a person I've known. The realities that we live through, we carry a lot of these traumas. As I was watching these, I was reliving my own memories. And that's the funny thing, that sometimes all you need is a little trigger that just brings out all these memories. And they can come in heavy, they can come in without any warning. You never know when it would hit you. It might be something really unconnected, but then it just touches a chord in that place where your trauma is hiding, and the next thing is you're up in arms. Sometimes you find a person beating like a child, and the beating is a result of something totally different. Just like you would be in a movie and they ask you to cry, it is a session where you have to cry, and all you are thinking about is a heartbreak you got. Meanwhile, you're just thinking about your heartbreak connected to this situation, cry, and people are seeing you crying, and you become good an actor in that place. But meanwhile, you've placed something else and brought it in there. So the realities of mental health within the media sector is something that I think had taken so long to come to fruition, to come to the light. And it's very good that now we are beginning to have these conversations. It is whether now, because for us who have come here, I don't know if we have any media managers, any media owners. These are conversations that we have here, but as long as they don't feed back into those newsroom owners, we are still back in the same place. But I think the most important thing is once we've started these conversations like they are now, what they are doing now is allowing us now to understand. We've just spoken about this trauma, but this trauma is just the physical of being beaten. One of the professions that cannot keep their marriages together, one of the worst professions, is journalism. Because most of the time you are at work, like many of us are in the different professions. You come back, your story is killed. After you've gone through all the trouble to get it, you are in tears. I've seen people get down on knees and cry because you've gone through all this trouble, and the editor simply trashes it without even thinking about the psychological effect of that. The next thing is the person who is going to come and, on whose shoulder you're going to cry is the person next to you. This is not your wife. The next thing, A, B, C, D happens, and you are in a relationship. That's the relationship that is circumstantial. The next thing is someone has come in emotionally, you'll break each other's hearts because you're on a different trajectory. It was circumstantial, and probably someone didn't appreciate that much. So while we talk about these physical aspects where you can have the beating, there are those other emotional aspects that ride within newsrooms that actually you have much more bigger cases. In the BBC, I was in a building where 8,000 of us entered the building in the morning, 8,000 left in the evening. 8,000 people in a single day, every day. And you found the kind of relationships you could find an editor or a sound man dating a serious news person because she was crying tears there after doing a very difficult interview and comes back and you cry. You have those moments of crying and you don't have the person to cry to. So now we should accept that it is all right to cry. And if there is that shoulder to cry on, I'm not saying take it to the next level, but I'm saying as long as that shoulder is there, at least it provides a kind of a cushion. So that by the time you go home, you're not carrying this burden and taking it home. You supposedly should leave stuff that is office to office. And when you go home, you're actually clean and ready for the home. But if you're going to carry the burden that we carry into our homes, there is just carrying the trauma to our own children, to our own wives, and that doesn't help. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to throw the ball to Annette Mahoro. You really hinted on some things I want us to get back to later. But Annette, if we are to just unpack this conversation, how best would you maybe define a burnout?
Burnout is it's a prolonged emotion, prolonged emotion distress, psychological distress, physical distress. So when it's so prolonged, or as a result of stress, when you have stress for so long, it compounds to burnout. So in short, it's prolonged stress. Yes.
Interesting. Now, what are some of the, should I call them triggers, that push the journalists in this place? There could be some, or even people in different fields, to reach that breaking point and say, you know what, I think I'm done, I think I'm quitting, I think I'm turning my back on my career, or I'm opting for maybe taking a different direction.
Yes, there are so many aspects. One, they could be based on work, organization, policy, tight deadlines. So you have to work under pressure to meet the tight deadlines. It could also be personal goals, perfectionism. You want to have good results, or you want things to happen in a certain way, even when things in your environment do not necessarily facilitate that. So you're going to put yourself under some sort of pressure to have what you're working on come to pass. Yes, then also it could be poor time management. Yes, oftentimes we are meant to work with a schedule. Yeah, if you know you have a schedule and you're expected to give your results in a given period of time, you're supposed to work on this report or work on a given video or something for the journalists. Assign yourself a time frame that you're supposed to work on that, so that you do not encroach on the time of doing other activities. So if you manage your time not well, yeah, you're going to still be under pressure to meet that. So poor time management, tight deadlines, also too much work overload. Yes, there are some workplaces maybe where they do not even distribute roles. Roles that are supposed to be done by 3-5 people, they're giving these roles to only one person. So that work overload over time, of course, the stress is going to come out, and eventually it's going to compound to burnout. Yes, and maybe what we understand by burnout, what is more feasible? Emotional exhaustion. You're emotionally overwhelmed. Yes, and with time you're going to be irritated. You're not going to relate well with the people around you. You're having anger issues. You're having sleep disturbances. You're not going, either you're sleeping too much or you're not sleeping at all. Physically, you're going to have headaches, constant headaches. You're taking water, but the headaches are constant. Yes, the anger issues are there. The fatigue, now that one, fatigue, yes. Majorly, those are the predisposing signs for burnout.
All right, thank you so much. I think we shall transition back into some steps to take forward. One of the ladies in the congregation talked about how they have awarded them a whole week off, and people in the corner clapped about it. Someone said it was an inside joke. But I want us to get back to what are some of the steps we could take to seize this later on. I want to transition to Jan. Jan, you have been in active journalism. Personally, some years ago, I think I went to do my intern from a certain media house, and I was even having this conversation with Dan. I walked into this media house because I knew that I'm going to be the next, journalist who tells the big story, who does this. But the day I walked into that newsroom, something in me changed. After day 1, day 2, day 3, and I think with the people I joined with that were doing internship with, I think I'm the only one who is in active journalism. Some run out and go into communication. Some even start bag shops. Selling perfumes. You find them in the market. But I don't know why I never spoke to any of them, but I want to maybe just hear from you. Having moved from active journalism into PR, into media development and capacity building at Media Focus Africa, what patterns of burnout have you observed among the journalists you might have worked with?
I'm sorry to hear that we teach students, they do well, and then they go and start selling perfume. Why did we admit them to journalism school? That's for another day. But I like to think that burnout is a symptom of something else, of the media environment in which we operate. Remove the challenges in the media environment and you'll not have as much burnout as is happening today. So, yes, you're burning out because there's a deadline, right? You're burning out because there's a deadline because your employer knows that he's supposed to have 100 journalists, but he has 20 journalists in the newsroom, right? And he's not paying them all, right? Yeah, so you're overwhelmed. Second thing, you have burnout because the pressure that is coming from the top is trickling down to everybody else, right? So you have the boss who's the media house is owned by some capitalist businessman. Okay, I'm not saying capitalism is entirely bad, but yeah, he has certain deadlines here and there. This guy's version of your newsroom is just think about a cash cow. You're a farmer, right? You can have a cash cow. This one here will bring for me how many liters per week. This is the one that needs to be paid attention to. So journalism for such business people is a cash cow, right? Nothing else. They don't care about anything else. So that comes down to the managing editor, and then down to the editor, and then it gets to you. I think that because of that pressure that trickles down, the burnout starts happening. So I think that there are about 3 ways of looking at it. The major one is the occupational one, right? Because like when you got into that newsroom and the environment was not welcoming, something changed in you. Think about those who push through that environment and are sitting through that environment and they know that it's bad, but they can go through it. Now, that's a problem there. If you get into the newsroom I was working in, I think if there was a sign of safety, either there was, I think I recall a fire extinguisher somewhere, right? And maybe a fire point, right? That's how the employer thinks about safety. There's no place to recline, right? There's no body you can go to. If you had a problem and you were lucky, you'd go and talk to a neighbor here and there if they had time, right? So the pressure in the institution will be the one that will accelerate the burnout, which comes back to the, again, personal burnout. Because you have a deadline, you have shouting editors. They're shouting editors and they're peaceful editors. I don't know, I had both. There was a shouting editor, you, Ajwa, from across the street, you've tried your best. And they have shouted, crap, how can you deliver crap? You're a young journalist and you're ready to excel. And somebody says that across, then you go and you look at your work, and then when you go closer, they should have told you, just dot the I's and cross the T's. So the absence of mentoring leaders in the newsroom means that they are not aware of the things that you're going through. So you have the shouting editor, and then you've got the silent editor. You go do all your work very well, and the person just, I think it's like a slicer, right? Puts out a brief. You are a freelancer, right? And the majority of newsrooms in this country have, I think, 80% freelancers, right? You know what a freelancer means? No strings attached to to legal redress, no strings attached to Medicare, no strings attached to flexi hours. I think I was in the time where it was story count. Gosh, so you write stories, even the stories you don't really care about. But you're thinking about your welfare. You're thinking about your not having enough money to take care of yourself. Sometimes you're young, your parents have sent you to school. They're looking at you like, okay, madam, you're still in this house. You're still receiving. So you want to make an impression. You want to maybe get out. You want to maybe take care of your mom. And then the story count. The number of stories you write is what you're paying for. And the quality, you've done excellent journalism, but they're still giving you a weird amount of money. And let me tell you, you go to your bed, and that is your safe space. You ask yourself, is this worth it? So I know who the culprit is, in my opinion. It is the model of journalism, the business model of journalism that makes journalists look like cash cows, that makes sure they have more freelancers than people on staff, and those on staff are being paid some really frustrating amounts of money. So clean up that, and we will not have burnout, I tell you. If we'll have it, it will be the small ones where I can respond to you, and then we can respond to each other. That's fine. And because you have a very busy media house, even those who try and reach out to you are still under pressure. They're busy. I remember, and I really don't like to speak about this subject, but when it comes to harassment, like sexual harassment, for example, the first day a girl steps into a newsroom, there is a chat room somewhere. I don't know whether it's a virtual chat room or a physical chat room, but people are talking. Yeah, that's one, right? And if you're not lucky, I was lucky, by the way, to get some nice ladies who gave me the heads up, like the sharks are coming and everything. I didn't deal with it. Now, the ones who missed that suffered. Even if you went out and had an innocent evening with a guy, right? Which is supposed to be okay, right? And they didn't even touch your toe, right? The next day, guys are making heroic stories. They're sounding like they had an epic evening with you, right? And then next thing, they have strange names for a girl in the newsroom. How is that person supposed to survive, you know? There are nicknames for this person. I mean, like, oh God, I cannot repeat the jokes that came out from the newsroom like that. And so why am I saying that? If we do not sanitize the consciousness in the newsroom, these things are going to continue, because personal responsibility is the second thing. I can take care of myself. I can forgive people. I can sleep well. I can eat. I was just hearing her things, and I'm like, we have done all of those things. We have kept time. What? And I'm like, how sweet. But we have done all of those things. But once the boss is making some weird jokes at you, once you go and report, and then there's a whole cartel of people who are there. Once you see your paycheck, and it's just, I mean, what's this? You struggle. So I feel we need to do things, clean up the newsroom environment. And second thing, we need to teach ourselves to take care of ourselves. We always say no story is what? What's your life? But we're not doing it. You're thinking that it's only about, like Kasim said, you think it's about only those guys breaking. There are stories that we failed to tell. We failed to write. I remember, if you allow me, I remember covering a story at an IDP camp in northern Uganda. I think I was covering a child headed home, and the children are telling me about how their mother or their father had passed away. And in the whole process, I was talking to them, and I don't know why, I asked one of the girls, because she was very emotional, I asked her, where was the parent buried? And she said, because we could not go back home. We buried the person here. So I asked them, here, what do you mean? And she just showed me there. I was seated there. No one has been prepared on how to cover conflict very well. No newsroom prepared you to cover post-conflict trauma, but you find it there. So how are they going to go back and start writing such a story? It died on arrival there, and then I wrote the swing-free, the casual stories. And there are very many casual stories that are going out there because we cannot bring out the complicated stories. So every story needs preparation, and every newsroom must invest in preparation. It takes a desk, like you said, the rackets. It takes a small desk like this, where we can actually say we are available to talk about mental health. It takes prodding. It takes editors who need to be supported. Editors must support each other so that they can be able to be supporting each other. Even the employer. I've sat with the managing editors and their bosses, and you also see them running their heads. Like, these things are really tough. So everybody at their stage and their point of comfort must be able to find some kind of peer strengthening. So it's beyond the breaking of cameras and everything, which is very embarrassing, but we must tell ourselves and all the young journalists here that you will be a victim. Prepare. You'll be a victim whether you are at the front line or not. Prepare. If you're not prepared, you'll struggle to actually move forward. Yeah, but that doesn't mean I do not sympathize with all of us, but we must be candid enough to the young people so that they don't come after 2 days and run away. Yeah, I submit.
The young people have a saying that does the pressure increase or decrease?
It increases.
It increases. So I think that's one of the things we might want to do to clean up the newsroom culture. But I'm curious to hear from Kasim and Jan. To what responsibility do media owners, editors, and newsroom leads have in addressing burnout?
I think we need to create a forceful environment. Because if you just say an encouraging environment, it might not happen soon. Given what is happening, given the kind of scares that we have, media owners, media managers must be made to be accountable for their staff mental health or mental well-being. And it starts even from day one. It is not something expensive. Actually, it might not involve money. As many of them, when you talk to a media manager, the first thing they think, how much is it going to cost me? But all it takes is you get a new person that has just come to start work. Attach them to someone. This is someone whose hand you can hold. You just say you are assigned to this person. You'll hear, because when they come, you get introduced into the newsroom. They say so-and-so, Kasim is a new journalist. He's just joined us. They'll assign you to Joshua, and they say, Joshua, please look after Kasim. What that means, it does not mean that others cannot intervene, but it means that you are the focal person to sort of watch out to this person, show them the loops. A lot of times we just arrive and then we get immersed into situations that we don't know. My first story to cover is I arrived into a newsroom. Day one. Hello, got introduced into the newsroom. I was not even meant to be a journalist. I was an intern. I was on internship. But my very day of arrival in the morning, hello, good morning, yeah. Sasa baza imga zikora demining. They had brought specialist dogs that were helping to demine, because a lot of the country, much of the country had been mined during the war. Now they had brought specialist dogs that could detect landmines, and then specialists would come and remove those landmines. The dogs could detect where the landmine is. It could just come, stop there, and then the specialists would come and do that. We go to do the story. They assigned me to a lady who they said, you are just joining her. There was no briefing. It was not like I'd been told, this is the person to hold your hand. We go into the story. The guy we went to interview was called Joshua Mbaraga, a major then, head of demining. He speaks English, he speaks French, he speaks Kinyarwanda. The lady I've gone with only speaks French and Kinyarwanda, doesn't speak English. We get to the point of interviewing the guy. She goes and interviews the guy in French, interviews the guy in Kinyarwanda. I asked for the microphone so that I could also get to interview the guest. The lady pulled the microphone off me in front of the guest. She just said, "What are you going to ask? What do you know? You're just an intern." Now, this is my first experience. Imagine burnout on those few hours of my very first deployment. This is burnout like complete on day one. In my heart, I say to myself, God, I've gone through this. I pray to you. Give me an opportunity to ever show this woman what I might be capable of. I came back. I had to translate the interview she had done and then broadcast it. When we had a guest that speaks the language that I was reporting in. This was very painful, and the pain stayed with me for quite some time. But I arrived, and then, so in the morning, the feedback, as we are getting feedback in the morning, said, "Kasim, yeah, that was nice reporting, but this guy speaks English. How comes this lady had the French and had Kinyarwanda, and you didn't have the English?" And I was not strong enough as to say she pulled the microphone off me. I was still an intern. Day 2, I get deployed. Beans in Rwanda, the price of beans, you joke with anything else. You never joke with the price of beans. If anything happens to beans, everything would shake. So we go to report. There I'm now in my element. I do my bit, come in, do fantastic reporting. Third day. So this now I'm beginning to own the story, but I don't have anyone that I can fall back onto. I'm still under the directors. The director general was the one coming now to give me feedback. The rest in the staff room, including my editor, nobody was coming. So you start your life with that. That starts draining you. With every day that you go in, it becomes much more difficult. Third day, the guy who was reading English news, God brought diarrhea, but I was not responsible. God brings diarrhea. The guy catches diarrhea. He cannot read the news because he's in a very bad shape. The director of the TV comes to me and says, "Kasim, you are an intern, you are very new, you've just had your 2 days in here, but I don't know why I have faith in you. I'll put you on screen." After the guy who was presenting had told me it might take you about 9 months from your English, the English sounds nice, it might take you 9 months and then we can get you on screen. Like to try you on screen, not even getting me there, to try me on screen. Third day, diarrhea does the story. I end up being brought in to go and present the news. Meanwhile, I'm shaking. They had to go. There was a company, there was a lady who had a boutique that would dress up the journalists. In return, they get adverts on the TV. So I get there, get suited up, kitted quickly. I'm in my nice tie, my nice coat. I'm on the screen. The director came into the studio, and he was there. Remember with these big cameras. Then I go into the room of maquillage. I'm on makeup now with my Johnsons and Johnsons being powdered on my face. I'm shaking deeply, but I'm saying, God, it is either now or never. Because I was saying in my heart, God, I asked for this, but not this quickly. Yeah, I wanted this so much, but not this quickly. I don't think I'm ready, God. So I get on screen. The guy said, "I'll be standing there and I'll be encouraging you on." This is a whole director, not the editor. The director of the TV had come in, Emmanuel Rushingabigo. God bless him, he's late now. So he comes and stands there behind the lady of maquillage and the camera people, and I get into news. Sig tune is coming on, heart is beating, heart rate is about 80 beats per second. Per minute now as compared to 60. Then news starts, first minute shaky, 3 minutes in, fantastic. By the time I finish the news, a phone call comes through. Directly, says, "Director, they want you on the phone." It was these phones of... You know those ones. The Gen Zs might not even know those phones existed at all. You see them in the movies, yes. So we were in that movie where you had that phone call. So phone call comes, they want the director on the line, and who is on the line? President Kagame. He was vice president then. He says, "Who read the news?" So the director was also a francophone. He understood the English, but he was a francophone. So he panics thinking, probably I had said something on air that was life-changing. So he says, "No, he's just the man insists and says, I asked, who is he?" Says he's just an intern. Yeah, I asked, who is he? He's Kasim Kaira. He's just an intern. He's just begun like 2-3 days. He should never leave the screen. I get my job on the third day, unplanned. But and it was the director now, down to the director, because the trust that he had in me, the courage that he gave me straight away, and I was never to leave the screen for the next 20, 30 years. So it just began from somewhere. And these burnouts now, when you talk about these realizations, you need someone. And from that moment, I promised myself, I'll never see any new journalists coming into the newsroom and I don't handle them. I made it a point of mine. You've seen people that have become very big in BBC now. People like Catherine Vyaruhanga. That was my handler. I handled her. She was my case. Because the dad, when we knew the dad, so when she came into the BBC, gets handed over to Paul Bachivinga, who is Ugandan. Paul hands her to me, and we started getting Catherine. Catherine now is a big deal. You can see her all over. This is one promise that we can make to each other, to one another, that if you have someone that can hold your hand, a lot of these issues now would be dealt with. There are moments when all you need is a word of encouragement. The story might die, but it might be for reasons beyond control. There's a time we went and did a story about Parliament. There was a big scandal. Parliament had decided to go and buy cars for MPs. And they had not gone through the normal process. They had decided that they were just buying from a company. No bidding had taken place. So we went and did the story and we were tough. Parliament got so mad. Thing got all the way to the highest office. We are called to Parliament to answer. I'm the editor. Well, actually what I forgot to say was, fast track, 5 months into my job and I was already editor of English. 9 months into the job, I was chief editor, controlling both Kenya, Rwanda, French and English. 9 months in. Fast-tracked into training in UK, in the University of Wales in Cardiff, brought back after 3 months in a course that takes 12 months. 3 months it was packaged and I was brought back and made chief editor. There are all these support systems. So in organizations, what we need are support systems. Let's have those people that you can run to, the people that you can cry on, who will not take advantage but who will listen to you. There are times when all you need, there are times actually when you don't even need to say anything back. All that someone needs is to offload, and you allow yourself to have enough terabytes or gigabytes to receive the download of pain. So you'll take in the download of pain, you listen to it, you handle it, you compress it, and then you delete it, if you can. But at least you're in that position where you provide this support system for journalists. A lot of these things, many of our predecessors went through such stuff, they didn't have the support systems. Now that we have these support systems, now that the level of awareness has come in, there is no excuse for media owners, for media managers, for editors to be insensitive to what is going on. Like we said, it's not just about work. It might be a relationship issue that comes to affect how you do your work. It might be something that started from home and then comes here. Many journalists end up being either big smokers or big drinkers. The drunkenness is resulting from something. Someone is trying to throw away this energy and bury it into something. So what we need, I think, are support systems, and media owners must be, it's not just should be, must be brought to this particular sense. If it needs to go through UCC so that it makes a precondition, let us do that. As media now, we have the platform. Let us campaign on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleased to meet you, Kasim.
Me too.
Incidentally, I also went to Cardiff in the same journalism school, so I'm just learning that you went there too. Yes, so I think there's something about people who go to Cardiff. Well, what I'm hearing is that we must be, just to reinforce that, but there has to be indeed a level of enforcement of these things. Yeah, if the regulators do not understand these things. The previous conversation we had, we used to say that if you have regulators who do not understand journalism, they're going to make mistakes. Right? Now, if you have regulators who don't understand mental health about journalism, then they'll not be able to make the right enforcement, right? And so it's important that, yeah, on one hand there's enforcement, on the other hand, we genuinely need to appeal to consciences of people. I mean, we are all children of parents. Yeah, and these news leaders, news owners have kids. Some of them even are going to become journalists. Why are they presiding over this indifference? I think the dialogues must start and they must continue, but they must be consistent and speedy, right? I watched the documentary and I envisioned us having this with almost different associations. Can we have this with NAB and we sit down with them? Can we have this? Can I go with Upcountry Journalists Association and sit down with them in their place? Because when we bring them here, sometimes they may feel like they're going to attack them. Can we use this other tool for advocacy to say, you know what, you can do more, right? And while Kasim was speaking, in my head, I was just writing a handbook of how to deal with mental health in the what? In the newsroom. How to be a better mentor. By the way, I teach myself everything. If I don't know how to greet you, I go and ask, how do they greet? So please, you may think you're not a candidate to help, but you can help, right? Teach yourself how to be a humane editor. If you're stressed, teach yourself how to be a good peer support. So I visualize a small handbook that anybody can look at. And once in a while, people can be able to review it and start using it. We need to make sure before the young journalists come to the newsroom, there should be modules at the university on mental health. The kids come in as interns and they're just all destroyed there, right? But what is in the content? Just think about your internship briefing. What did they tell you? Did you even have an internship briefing? No? So how did you become an intern? You just became.
You apply, they call you, you join.
How? Your university that has given you a letter has a responsibility to brief you at least 1 hour or 2 hours, or even at least a whole week of preparing. How come they have orientation weeks, but they don't prepare you to come to a world of sharks, and all you just do is like, I've got internship, yay. We repent on behalf of the elders. We should have briefings for the young journalists before they leave the newsroom, before they come into the newsroom. Otherwise, they'll be like Joshua, who ran away, and yet this guy has a lot of potential. He ran away because he wasn't prepared. So we must invest, and media support organizations can do that. We can all go to different universities towards the internship time and just volunteer our hours and just talk to the people before they come in. It's important. I'm trying to be as practical as possible because I know we all can do one of these things. And then I think that we need to still have a desk on mental health in the newsrooms. One, there should be a mental health desk and there should be mental health ambassador in every section, right? The way you have here, is it a first aid or a fire extinguisher ambassador? Who are that person who says, when there's a fire, this is the person you go to, or they put in a corner where it's a fire marshal, right? Good. Can we find a mental health marshal? And can you be a volunteer? Like starting with you, it starts with you. Can you be a mental health marshal, right? Because then you'll be able to appeal to the administrators, to all the other people around. And the reporting on the subject is very, very casual, very lackluster. People die, and you just go and do a simple content analysis on what we know as mental health and how the media is writing it. Died from suicide. Died from suicide. Kills himself. The way we are reporting about mental health is a problem. So we must train journalists on how to report about mental health so that they can put it all in context. And dear editors, because it's a mental health story, don't shelve it and put it like the dreg. The last page with a brief, and yet the whole newsroom is hosting a pandemic. Right? And so we need to improve the reporting. And the other thing we must do is to invest, right? Let the journalists who we feel need assistance, let's spend for them. Let's take them to see specialists with the money that they're bringing in to build the newsroom. We must spend. Isn't that so? Yeah, people must spend. And not just to any specialist, because you go to a counselor who just knows how to counsel people who have marital problems. But they do not understand the meaning of journalism and how journalism works. So they'll tell you, I'll tell you what someone told me, should I say? Because people might think I say, why don't you change your sleeping routine? And for a journalist, sometimes you even enjoy just reading more, and just understand. Why don't you change your diet? Change your diet a bit, then turn on some more music, That's fine and we appreciate it, but we need to collaborate with people who are working on mental health. Like now we are working with her here. She might be better off than any other counselor you might go to because she understands journalism things. And also us, as media people, we must have referrals of people we trust, not just taking them to a quack counselor who is trying to make a living. But people who understand that journalism is important and must be saved, right? I think any chance that any of you cannot do what some of the things I've said, is there anything you cannot do from what I've said? At least I can be a mental health marshal. Yeah? What can't you be of what I have said? As a leader, you can actually go and tell the bosses, guys, no, there are 2 or 3 organizations that we know work with mental health and they understand journalism better. Not anyone goes to those referral places. So, and then of course, we must forgive ourselves. Sometimes we are too harsh on ourselves, too harsh on editors are very harsh. Editors are only harsh because their employers are harsh. And their employers could have done better by how they are enumerating them, I suspect. Yeah? Because the editor is just ventilating on a less threatening source, like a principle of displacement. So they throw it there. Of course, some of them are threatened because they might be threatened, but I think it's the systemic environment. So yeah, forgive yourself. Today I said this World Press Freedom Week, I'm going to be in a forgiving mood. I'm going to forgive as many people that I know are culprits in affecting journalism because it's too much. So forgive yourself and forgive the environment and forgive the culprits, because journalism is not just about, we contribute to development. And another thing is that when media development and media support is on CPR, you wonder how journalism is. Am I right, Mr. Seranja? If the people who are supporting journalists to actually do their job are on CPR, they're also dealing with a mental health challenge, right? And because of that, the quality of journalism might actually be affected. So it's a 360 thing, but we need to all support each other. And when I kept looking at this documentary, I think we all have to be teachers of people to tell them what journalism is. The level of media literacy in this country is too low that a policeman thinks it's so important that he can beat you and get away with it. So we need media houses should invest in media literacy to get people to understand that the journalist is as good as the lawyer, as good as the army man, and such that when you try and touch a journalist, everybody comes up against you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jan. Many things have been said. Support systems, regulators who don't understand mental health, and then prepare young journalists for journalism. We're ahead. Thank you so much. But I'm curious to hear from Annette. Annette, as your parting shots in, let me say, a minute, what would be a way forward if you were to pitch two action points that are realistic, that media houses and journalism associations should embed in order to push for quality work and quality mental health being?
Well, I would question them to advocate or promote work-life balance. I think this comes from being so drained or being so involved in work, and then you are not taking care of yourself. So if they can advocate for work-life balance, let there be a time for work, let there be a time for your personal life. Yes, if they can look out for that, then that would really, really be a good thing. Then the other thing I would, like they have said, I would encourage them to partner with mental health professionals. And if I can talk about Safe Places Uganda, one of our services we offer for corporate business is employee assistance programs. So what does the employee assistance program look like? We do an audit, a mental health audit, based on the needs of the work of the employees. So we shall come and conduct sessions, mental health awareness sessions. Could be about burnout, could be about stress, or anything. Yeah, we do capacity building, team build for the people. Yeah, basically partner with mental health professionals, let them be there to support your staff. And I know also most of the workplaces, I want to commend them, they usually give insurance packages to their employees. At least let them advocate for the mental health package to be part of the benefits on their insurance packages. At least then they can be able to access the one-on-one counseling. Yes, then the other one, please give leave to your staff. Why are your staff working throughout the year without taking leave? Yeah, even the labor laws say that at least let them take leave. And I know that those that, because of their personal goals, they think when they take leave, they are going to backslide on their work. Then ensure forced leave. Yeah, let them take forced leave. And if I question the individuals, take a break. Yes, the workload is a lot, the pressure is a lot, the deadline is near, but take a break. What do I mean by take a break? You have maybe 8 hours of work straight. Give yourself 10 minutes of not thinking about work, not being on your phone. Like, just take a walk around office, really. Yeah? That will help you overcome the overwhelming situation, the stress. Yeah, I know because of schedules, these things are a bit not feasible. You may not incorporate them as such, but it honestly starts with us. Yeah, while you're able to create time for getting these stories, reporting, are you creating time for yourself? What do you do for self-care? By self-care, if it's gym, do you still go to gym, or you're now so enclosed in your work? If it's taking an evening walk, do you still do that, or you're so caught up in the work? And in the event that you're overwhelmed, in the event that you're exhausted, what do you do? What are your coping mechanisms? Are you resorting to the drinking? Because now that's where most of the people fall culprit. They're going to drinking, they're taking hard drugs to cope or to be able to work for longer hours. But they are positive coping mechanisms. Yes, and maybe if I can elaborate what mental health is, simply how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. Yeah? So if you are, how you behave, what you think, and how you feel, and then how you behave, it's going to manifest in how you behave. So if you are drinking, if you are doing drugs, your behavior is going to be different, and people are going to notice that. Yes, so I may not be able to summarize all the positive coping mechanisms, but reach out to a professional. Let them teach you the basic skills to cope with stress. Maybe I can give you one. Relaxation techniques, just breathe in. Okay, maybe it may not make sense to you guys, but breathing in and breathing out, it's a good thing. Just taking a walk around, those things do help. But to an ordinary person, they'll think those are basic things, like, but they actually do work. Yeah. So, yeah, basically for the media houses, partner with mental health professionals, encourage work-life balance. Even you as a person, advocate that. Make sure you have that, the work-life balance, and have work boundaries. Can I say work boundaries? Know when to not pick that phone call. If you know you've left work, you have left work, do not check that WhatsApp message. Yeah? Be able, yes, be able to have those boundaries, because if you give room to these people, I'm telling you, I also practice them. I'm the client relations officer. I manage partnerships, and professionally, I'm a mental health nurse, yeah? But I've also done management courses. That is why I work with a business development. I'm telling you because I have an office line. I have a personal line, but I also have an office line. And most of the times, people will reach out to you at any time. But if I've clocked out of work, I have clocked out. And I'm glad that my team understands that, and also the team lead does. There are times when you can pick, but there are those times when you've had a really, really, really hectic day or difficult day, and you just want to go shower and sleep. And trust me, if you call me, if you send that message, I am not going to open it. And if it's such an emergency, trust me, it's going to be handled without you. So what am I trying to say? Know when to put boundaries. Do not accept to be easily accessed. Do not give room for access. Yes, there are those times when you're okay, even past working hours, when you can, pick up, show up. But when you feel like you can't, please don't. Yeah, and then listen to your body as a person. Yeah, listen to your body. I've had people that like, today I honestly couldn't leave bed. You know what that is? That is fatigue. You're overwhelmed. You're burnt out. Like you want to go to work, but your body can't just let you. Your mind is in the shower, showering and getting ready to go for work, but physically you're still in bed. You get, so let us listen to our bodies. Our bodies always communicate by that. It's just that we are just too stubborn to listen to our bodies. Yeah. Yes, so it starts with you even before the workplace, before your bosses, yeah? You're your own keeper. So take very good care of yourself. Create time for self-care. I do not know what self-care means to you, but me coming here and listening to words of wisdom, that's my self-care. I've learned something. So I've looked out for my self-care in this session. So I'm grateful for the invite, yeah? But basically, look out for yourself. And at the workplace, follow the policies, of course, time. Create a schedule. I hope I mentioned that. And you can have goals. There is the SMART goals. Follow that. Set achievable goals. Do not give yourself such a small time frame to achieve such a big goal. Let your goals be realistic. Let them be achievable. Let them be time bound. Yeah. The time frame should be realistic. Not too long, not too short, so that you avoid the pressure, and then also you do not put yourself in a space where you may think you have a lot of time, and by the time you wake up, the deadline is tight. Yes, so work with the SMART goals. Yes, and for those meetings where you'll be in, advocate for mental health really. Yes, so I think that will be it from me, really.
Thank you so much, Annette. I think after today, some people are going to go back and revisit their contracts and be like, I think we need to change this policy. But Jan and Kasim, just as we end this conversation can go on and on and on. And you know, the deeper we go, it's like a rabbit hole. The conversation gets sweeter and all. But I would love to just hear 2 parting shots from each of you in 1 minute to the young journalists who are in this space. I've seen Media Challenge, the Media Challenge Fellowship Program cohort of this year is in this place. You mentioned prepare these young journalists, orient them so that where they are going, they know what they are going to do. Because someone might go there and then change their mind. I remember I wanted to be a war reporter. But after seeing what people were going through in riots, I said, hell no, I'm not going there. But just 2 parting shots each of you within a minute.
Your life matters most. You can deliver whatever you're delivering as long as you are alive. Try as much as possible to be well. And it is okay not to be well as well, because only then do you realize that your body is speaking to you, and therefore you should take action. We should have and read these telltale signs. There are people who might actually have such situations of burnout and they don't even realize that they have burnout. There's that, because you keep working. Because within the military, for example, you can never, under normal circumstances, you should never go beyond 6 weeks of deployment in the military. In journalism, it seems to be relentless. It's like an unending chain. It just goes and comes back tomorrow. You come, it's just stories and stories. And the more competitive media houses are becoming, the more they feel they want to tell as many stories as possible. So one person will end up doing 3 stories in a day, and that feels really nice. You feel proud of yourself, but burnout is coming in. Just know that let us have the ways of looking out to people. And this is especially to editors, because editors have much more time that they can sit back and sort of look at people. Because with your fellow colleagues, you are already running, all of you are running around. So you need, the editors would take that position where they can start looking out. But very important, like it was mentioned, to have health champions within organizations, a desk that you can go and report, and then referrals can be made. This does not mean that this person has to be very, very professional. It just means this would be a contact person from whom then, an assessment can be sent now to those organizations like Safe Places, and then you can sort of pick it up. All you need is just to have a sort of a collection point of ideas, and then from where you can start making this. It's very important for media managers to understand that the health of your organization, the competitiveness, the quality of the work that comes from it depends on the quality of the people that you have. The quality of these people depends on their mental health situation. When you have people that are struggling, there is no way in the world you're going to have competitiveness in the newsroom. Make it a priority and you'll start seeing results. Media organizations should start. They might not all start at once, but let those that start showing signs. And I think that will be a good point from where others can start peaking. We are in the time of social media where everybody just wants to show they're doing something. Media houses are set up in different ways. Top TV, where it is, there is a church. They will stand up and dance. Get here, you don't have to be a Moroccan to dance to the tune there. It's just one way of releasing your stress. You take it out. As they are dancing downstairs, you're also stretching out, and you never know what happens thereafter. You just deal with that. Others might be in a flat. It might be inconvenient. NBS is in a good location. You can just get out, get on. Just look at the skies. Look at Kampala skies. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. You just get back and you have already cut down on your stress. Allow workers to be able to do that without putting them under pressure. You say 2 parting words, they've become so many, but it all narrows down to this, which is you are only as important as you are well. If you're unwell, your ability to deliver will be curtailed very much. You're more important. It's about you. First be well, then you can tell others what is well.
So for the young journalists, journalism is good. We need you. So you stay. Please don't go anywhere. Stay. We are going to don't go and sell perfumes. We need you. You can sell perfumes as a way of releasing stress, but we need you at the front line, okay? And so I believe that after here, we're going to try and make some practical ways to make the environment better, working with the ecosystem, and see. I commit to do what I can, that we can try and address the mental health issue. I forgot to say that I found that many of the journalists that I used to interact with, especially the freelancers, used to do a lot of self-medication because, I mean, it's just an expensive thing and what. So when you self-medicate, you do not know what you're doing to yourself, so you want to try and be aligned and just go and get medication directly from the doctor. Seek professional help and professional views. Second thing is, I know journalists at the least don't like to be vulnerable. We do not want to be vulnerable. This word, I'll spell it because I don't know how to pronounce it. I just see it all over social media. G-U. That's why. So don't gummiterize, please. Be vulnerable and know that on any day it might come to me. And when it comes to me, when it comes to it, has to be you have to be prepared. You have nothing to prove to be gummiting when your salo is at half-mast. Don't be gummited, be vulnerable and be open to receiving help from your friends, from yourself, and even from those around you. So the African thing that men don't do XYZ, men don't weep, men don't cry, traditional men don't nyef. Please, we need you alive and well. Calm down. So these stereotypes that run around social media, where we have men calling themselves really strong things, and yet you can see them like they're marshmallows, but they don't want even to admit. That's happened in journalism also. So you're sick, you're very sick, but now because the editor deployed you, you want to be the one to be seen on top of the, to have broken this story. But there's always somebody who will replace you. We know that, right? There's always, for me, there are like 10 guys behind me who can replace me in the next minute. And that should humble us, right? Be humble, be vulnerable, be ready to receive help. Some of the help can be got professionally, but you can also teach yourself. I'm hearing these things and I'm finding them very hard, but I am going to do them because I have to humble myself and say, you know what? Switch off the phone. It's 5 p.m. You'll not find me, or to get an extra line. Let's be humble enough to receive help and follow the instructions. And for me, in media development, I am going to try, and anybody in media development, let's put that budget, let's put that budget line on mental health. Sometimes we give donors budgets and we never put mental health there. And because we have not put it there, it's not taken care of. Let's put that budget line for mental health and mental support, and also let's increase the budgets that are supposed to support journalists directly, because then we shall be able to get this money and give it to the journalists, and they can be able to have money for themselves. I submit.
Thank you so much, Jan. Thank you so much, Kasim. Thank you so much, Annette. It's been wise words of wisdom. One of my colleagues once told me that even without you, work can still go on. So I hope we've picked out some lessons tonight, and media developers, I hope we can transition out of here different people. This brings us to the end of this conversation. I would like to invite Dan to come and take over this event, and also have a photo with the panelists because he loves photos. Yeah. No, I think we can stand. We could stand. Is the photographer in? Thank you so much.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being patient. And I promise we shall be out of here in a short while. But maybe to reflect on this, for a few months, I went to a carpenter some 4 months ago, and tried to get myself some piece of carpentry. And this guy, as carpenters always do, they have never delivered. 4 months now. To connect to this, I have failed to get time to look for that guy. I leave at 5, come back at 9. And that guy is like 3 blocks away. But for 4 months, I can't get my money back because I leave at 5, come back at 9. I think right now he's like, oh no, namumala. So that's the reality of the newsroom, and especially about schedules. I'm lucky I have 2 editors in the room, so they said if I ask for an off, you don't ask questions. Kayonga, Godi, on Monday, deal? Shamim, deal? Okay, so on Monday I have an off, that's confirmed. So without wasting... Confirmed, Godi? Paul, I humbly request, leave. Anyway, I'll invite Godi Badebie to give us closing remarks. But I don't know if this panel had questions. But I didn't see arms up. So, Godi, let's close this. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Godfrey Badebie for the closing remarks.
I am really, really okay in that we have started this conversation. Unfortunately, I'm not from Cardiff. But the fortunate bit, we are meeting to discuss something that we all need to find solutions to. This is my first time, Solomon knows, to stand in front of people, but because of one reason, burnout in our places of work. And I'm glad that we have this conversation and we are walking away as marshals of mental health. I promise we all sign to this that we are all marshals, right? Are we? Are we marshals of mental health? So as we go out, we are different people and our mental health is different, and this conversation is not stopping today. Thank you for coming, and we're meeting again definitely. All right.
Okay, these are closing remarks, but you can stay, and we can start another panel, if that's okay. And I can invite more people. Who is hosting this? You can host this panel. So guys, feel free to leave at leisure. Thank you for coming. And of course, be mental health marshals out there. Look out for each other. Be humble, be kind, sorry. And also be humble too. Be kind, look out for young journalists. Handhold young journalists, encourage your friends. And let's of course ensure that journalism can be a better place for us as we make the world a better place with journalism. That's all. All right. Have a good